So welcome everybody. My name is Jan Lehman. I'm the owner of CTC Productivity. And with me is my fabulous colleague, Nancy Krushke, fresh out of vacation camping. She cleaned up for us nicely this morning. We welcome you to our webinar series on basically how to help people work more productively in a virtual environment. And we're specifically focusing on the Microsoft 365 tool set. We've started the webinar series a few weeks ago, started kind of at a high level, and now we're doing a bit of a deeper dive into some of our favorite apps, or some of the apps we think may be some of the more important ones to be aware of. So today's session is going to be a deep dive on the Microsoft Planner app. Oh, there we go. So, went too far, sorry about that. So just so you know, for recordings of past sessions and to register for any future sessions, you can go out to CTC Productivity's website there at the bottom of the screen and go to the events page. And so that's where you can find past recordings. Nancy, do you have the link for the one in August to put into the chat?
Yep, I put the one, the registration link, and there is the August one.
Perfect. So our next session, we're going to actually take a couple week off break here, take some vacations and regroup. So our next session is going to be on August 18th, and that's going to be another deep dive, and this time it'll be on OneDrive. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and click on the link that's in chat right now. The website's not yet updated with the registration information, but it will be soon. I am having a delay with the PowerPoint. There we go. A little bit of netiquette for you. If you've never used Zoom before, just wiggle your mouse around and you'll see a black bar. On the far left is where you'd see the mute, unmute, and the video. In the middle is where you'd see a participant icon. You want to click on that. You can see who else is on the call and see some different emoticons down at the bottom you can use. And then for sure you want to locate the chat feature in the menu bar. That's how you'll be communicating throughout the session. For the first part of the session, Nancy's really going to do a monologue, presenting a lot of information. And so as questions pop in your head, go ahead and enter them into chat so you don't forget them, or you can save the questions for the end. But once she's done going through the content, then we'll switch over and do Q&A. So that's the way we're going to approach the day. So we love this statistic. So it talks about, it's done by the Wall Street Journal, and the Wall Street Journal is saying that office workers are wasting about half their workday because they weren't taught organizing skills to deal with today's demands. And this is a kind of a scary statistic, but at the same time, it's a great statistic because it tells us there's a world of opportunity on being more organized with your task management, your digital data, all the things that we're covering in this webinar series. And we are happy to report we've helped individuals get to a 40% improvement rate. We've helped whole organizations improve their productivity by 30%, plus employee engagement. So there's lots of areas of opportunity for improvement here. So thanks for being on the call with us. And we wanted to share one more statistic with you that's kind of relevant to the session today. Our industry association, NAPO, has done some surveying of themselves. And they found that the vast majority of people in the business organizations are really worried about being judged on how they're organized, which is interesting. But what's most interesting about the survey results is if you look at the pie chart on the side, you'll see that the younger generation is even more concerned about being judged for how they organize, how they're organized. And so we just really want to make sure leaders are aware of this. Often leaders will assume that the younger generation, they're digital natives and they understand how to use all these apps and therefore they're highly productive. And that's not really the case. So we want you to realize this is really a benefit for everybody in your organization to understand. And today, as we talk about Microsoft Planner, and last week as we talked about Microsoft To Do, these are great apps that really can help people be more organized with their task management, which would improve everybody's productivity. All right. I am having a delay, Nance, on these things going. So.
Oh, well, I didn't think I was moving my mouse, but there we go.
Okay. All right. You're up.
Okay. So Jan, thank you for allowing me to share about Microsoft Planner with our audience today. Small as it may be, but mighty, that's for sure. So I just want to start out, and one of early on, someone also said, I'm confused or struggle with what do I use when. So Microsoft has 3 task management apps, one of which is Outlook, the To-Do app, which we talked about last week. So if you weren't able to attend last week, you might want to go out to the CTC productivity website and watch the webinar from last week all about Microsoft To Do. And then this week and today we're going to talk about Microsoft Planner, which is the newest task app that Microsoft has added. So, they want to give, people say, why do they have so many? Everybody works and thinks a little bit differently. So Microsoft is really all about giving opportunities so that you can choose which way do you want to work and what fits your personality and your learning style. There's a few terms that I'm going to talk about today and just wanted to, kind of go through those right up front. So hopefully, as I mentioned web and the couple of the terms I'm going to bring up, you're going, oh yeah, that's what she was talking about. So when I talk about the web or a web app, that really what I mean there is that you have actually opened that particular app or program in a browser. So you've gone to a browser window, Chrome, Edge, Safari, whichever browser you use, and are on the internet, connected to the internet, and then opening that app on the web. So that's what that means. Desktop, when I refer to the desktop app, that is any app that you've actually downloaded onto your computer. So if you have the Microsoft Office suite, which includes Word, Excel, PowerPoint, most likely you actually have those installed on your computer, and that is the app or the program that you're using when you go and open Word. But you can also use Word and Excel and PowerPoint, just the web apps, and use those on the web as well, therefore in a browser. And then the third term is device. And device encompasses everything, all of our phones and our tablets. It doesn't matter if it's iOS, Android, or Windows. So when I talk about a device, that's not your desktop computer. That is really everything but your desktop computer, your phones and your tablets. So let's go ahead and get started with Microsoft Planner. Microsoft Planner is available in Microsoft Business and Enterprise plans. So if you happen to just have a free plan, which anybody in the world can sign up and get a Microsoft account in a free plan, which allows you to use Word, Excel, Word, Excel, PowerPoint on the web. And so you have access to that. And then some companies, even if they have a Microsoft Office, Microsoft 365 plan, they may not have Planner as part of that depending on what plan they have, which there's about 6. So just be aware that if you can't find it, it could be your company doesn't have a plan that includes Microsoft Planner. But what is Planner? So you may have heard of Microsoft Project. And for some of you that have heard about it and played with it, you go, oh my gosh, yes, I have, and it is so complicated and it's hard to understand. So when Microsoft rolled out Teams, they also rolled out Microsoft Planner and really said, hey, this is a simple project manager. And those of my clients, our clients that use Project are like, well, that's kind of a joke because it's not simple, it's really stupid plan. But it is really a simple project manager. It does not have all the robustness of Project, but it also doesn't have the complicatedness of Project either. So this simple project manager gives you a place to capture the tasks, assign tasks, update tasks, and graphically view the progress of all of the tasks for a particular project. So it's a quick, really graphic view, and I'm going to show you some of those graphs as we go through the next few slides here. So the first thing to even find Microsoft Planner is that you'll need to sign into your Microsoft account. And again, if you have a free one, you're not going to find it there. So typically, you're going to be signing in to your work account, your Microsoft account. So find your sign in, or if when you logged into your computer, you're already signed in, then you'll be able to access Microsoft Planner. So that's the first thing. Enter your username and your password. Once you get in, you might see a screen that looks similar to this. And if you're not seeing Planner listed, which right now, if we look at the apps that are listed there, Planner's not listed. You can type in the search on this page, Planner, and it will pop up. Or you can click all apps on the bottom, which will take you to another page that shows even more apps that you have access to, that your company is subscribing to and is allowing the users to have access to. So they may have it as part of the plan, but the company or the IT department has potentially turned off one of these apps because they're like, oh, we're not ready to roll it out yet. And so even though the plan they have may include it, you might not see it here. So whether you click on Planner once you've done the search, or whether you click on Planner after clicking on all apps, what you're going to see next is you're going to see something that looks like this. And this is actually the Planner app on the web, so through a browser. Planner does not have a desktop app. It is one of the few apps right now that there is no desktop app. There is an app, however, for devices. And down on the bottom left, you'll see you can click on Get the Planner app, and that is for devices only. It is not for a desktop computer at this stage in the game. And the Planner app on my Android phone looks similar to this. So when I was back on the last page, that's the Planner Hub. And on the left-hand side here is the Planner Hub on my phone, my Android phone. And then the right-hand side is the My Tasks view. And I'm going to go in and explain what the difference is between the hub and the tasks. That is what's coming up next. And again, don't hesitate, put any questions, over in the question box in the chat box for us. So let's go back to the web and look at what Planner looks like. By default, when you click on Planner in your laundry list of apps within the 365 plan, it's going to come into the Planner Hub. The Planner Hub is going to show you all of the plans that you have been invited to. And so I have a favorite plan, just one of them, that Training Office 365. And so it shows me a little bigger graphic. I haven't favorited any others, so that's the only one I see this quick little snapshot. But then down in the bottom here, you'll see where it says Recent Plans and All Plans. And so it's going to list any recent plans that you have looked at or have been engaged in. And if you were to go ahead and click on the All Plans, you would then see a list of all of the Microsoft plans that you are a member of. So that's what the Hub shows you. It's just all the plans that you're a member of. Now, when we go ahead and click on the My Tasks, this is going to show you all the tasks in all the plans that you're a member of that have been assigned to you. So if you're a member of 5 plans, but nobody has assigned you any tasks, your My Tasks is going to be empty. You're not going to see anything. And you can sort your tasks in a variety of ways. So right now, I have it sorted by the plan. So Microsoft Training is a plan, Teams Training Platform is another plan, and then all of the tasks that are assigned to the trainer user, and that's who I logged in as and showing you screenshots of. So if there were more than just this one task, I was on the web, I could scroll down and see all the tasks in the Microsoft Training plan that were assigned to me. In the top right, there is actually, and I shrunk the screenshot down a little bit, but there's actually to the right of the filter here, there's the ability to go ahead and sort this. So right now it's sorted by plan, but I could sort it by when is the task due or the priorities of the task. So I have a variety of ways that are built in that I can do sorting and view the tasks in whatever order I want. We talked about last week a little bit when I was talking about Planner. On the left-hand side of the navigation in the Microsoft To Do app, any tasks that are assigned to you from Planner are going to show up in the Assigned to You grouping. So when I click on Assigned to You, all of these are tasks that have been assigned either from a plan or from a shared list. So you'll see here, Training Office 365, that's a plan. Microsoft Training, we just showed you in the last screen, and the Teams training platform. So those are all plans that have assigned tasks to the trainer user within my company. And so there's that nice integration. And then the To-Do app, you do have a desktop version, a device version, and a web version. So that's kind of nice to be able to have all three versions of the To-Do app integration. Also, there's an integration with Planner and Teams. I mentioned a little earlier that when Microsoft rolled out Microsoft Teams, they also rolled out Planner, and it integrates so that when you're in Teams, you can go ahead and add the plan for that team or that project right into Microsoft Teams. And we have several of our clients that are really, once they've started using Teams, they just stay inside of it because everything can be pulled into it. So it becomes that hub. And Jan's going to talk about that a little bit later here. So let's go back to Planner on the web. And let's just take a look at the different views. So I already talked about what the Planner Hub is and the My Tasks. And so what I clicked on over here on the left-hand side, you'll see I have highlighted the Training Office 365 Team Plan. And up here shows you that there's three views. There's a board view, a chart view, and a schedule view. I'm going to go ahead and start with the schedule view and work our way from right to left. The schedule view is essentially a calendar, and it is going to show all of the tasks for this plan that have a start and or an end date. So if you have any tasks for this plan that do not have either of those, a start or an end date, they're not going to show up on this schedule view. But you can see once you do put deadlines or start dates on them, you'll be able to see how all of those tasks overlap. And it's like, oh my gosh, we have 16 tasks that are supposed to be done this day or this week. And you do have options up here on the top right of schedule. I currently have it on a month view, but you could do a week view. And so you would be able to see more tasks and more details right on the calendar. So moving from right to left, schedule to charts, there are 4 charts that are included, and it just gives you that nice quick graphic interface and view of what's happening with the particular plan that we're looking at. So the first chart is status. So if we look at this, there's 7 tasks left and 6 of them aren't started. 1 of them's late, oh no, and then 1 of them is complete. And the colors, there's colors down here that tell you what the legend is, and then you'll also see the colors on the little graph there. The buckets, and we're going to talk about those, they're coming up next when I get to boards. The buckets also, it's going to show you how many tasks are in each bucket and what the status is. Again, if it's red, that's that one that's overdue. And priority, you can prioritize low, medium, important, or even urgent. You can mark your tasks on the board. And lastly, you also get a graphic view of who those tasks are assigned to. So right now, 6 of the 7 tasks that are outstanding, they're not assigned to anybody. So no wonder they're not started because no one's been assigned that particular task. So that's kind of a nice graphic overview to be able to see. Well, again, moving right to left, so now we're over to the board. So the boards are really, think of those as categories. So if you were going to categorize your tasks, that's what the boards are. So we'll see down here, here's 2 boards. One board is called objectives and one board is just generic to do. And then we have tasks on there. So if you think of the boards as the board and the buckets, actually I should have said, the board has buckets on it and the buckets are your categories, and that's how you group your like tasks together. So let's go into a little deeper dive into not only the buckets, the buckets first. So just a few ideas for buckets or those categories or those groupings. One could be project objectives. So if you looked at the overall project and you went, oh, we have 3 main objectives for it, you might want 3 buckets for those main objectives. For those of you that might be using EOS and have EOS rocks, your buckets could be each of those EOS rocks. Departments. If multiple departments are working on a particular project, maybe your buckets or your categories are each of the departments. So here's all the tasks for marketing, and here's all the tasks for sales. It could be by project phase. So one bucket is, here's the research phase, and here's all the tasks for that, and then the design phase, and the prototype phase, and the testing phase, and so on. And if there's anybody on the call that might be, using lean principles and Kanban, we have several clients that they like to use Kanban as their buckets. These are the ones that we have to do. These are the ones we're doing, we're working on, and these are the ones we're completed. So they can very quickly see that in all those graphs that I showed you with the chart view. And just looking at the board with the buckets of what the status is. There's some best practices when it comes to defining the plan buckets. And I really recommend that whoever owns the project, that is one of the things that's on their list as the project owner, is to define those plan buckets. And to create the buckets before even inviting members to the plan if you can. Because that way they're already defined, and you're not going to have people just creating buckets because they're like, oh, I think one of our buckets should be this, or one of our categories should be this. So taking that on as a role as the project manager or the project owner, I just feel that that's a best practice. The second best practice is documenting what the bucket definitions are and the purpose. That just really gives clarification for the whole project as it moves forward. And when you come back to it, maybe people have strayed away from focusing on that project for a little bit, and they come back and they're like, okay, well, I don't remember what that bucket name meant and what it was for. So having some documentation for what are the bucket, what's the name of the bucket to do, but what does that mean? Or the name of the bucket is marketing, but what does that mean? And what the purpose for that bucket is. And then what can be helpful is, what are you currently using for project management tools? Because you've probably, as a project manager, already outlined, the different categories and how your tasks group together. So you don't really have to start from scratch and go, I don't know how to name my buckets. You've already named and created categories for your projects with your existing project management tools, whatever they might be, from an Excel spreadsheet to a Word document to a OneNote page. Maybe it's even Microsoft Project or some other tool. On each of the buckets, or in each of the buckets, that's where we actually add the tasks. So we have a board, and the board contains buckets, which are our categories. So they're broad-based. And now the tasks, that's the nitty-gritty. We're now getting down into, okay, we have our plan, we have our board, which has our buckets on it, and now we're going to add our individual tasks. So when we click on add a new task, it pops open this kind of, I call it a little mini task card. And you'll see there's really only three things that we can add here. We can put a name, we can set a due date, and we can assign it. And we can't make that bigger until we actually save the task by adding task. And then we can double click on the task and open the large task card, which allows us to add much more description to this task. You can go ahead and even rename your task up here. You can assign, so maybe you did assign when you create it and you're like, oh, but that should have been assigned to Bob and Sue, not to just Bob, so you can add more people, assign it to more people. When you added the task, maybe you added it to the wrong bucket and you're like, oh, that was the wrong bucket. So you can click the drop down and you can change the bucket. You can set the progress, not started, in progress. Since I'm not doing this live, I don't remember what the other options are. The priority, we talked about that before, low, medium, important, and urgent. So you'll see that. And then this is where you can put start and due dates on there. And only items, again, that tasks that have start and due dates are going to show up in that schedule view. You can go ahead and type some notes, add a description, a little more detail of what the task is up here. And then there is a few more items on the task card. One is you can add checklist. And again, if you participated last week or have played with the To-Do app, the To-Do app also gives you the ability to add checklists. So that's kind of nice. You can't add due dates to each of your checklist items though in either of the apps, but it's nice to say, here's my task and I know that I have 3 steps to do it, and you can check them off as you complete them, and everybody on the team is able to go ahead and see that they're done. Over here on the right, you'll see these little colored like flags or tabs, and that allows you to add a label. So the bucket is kind of category 1 level, and then those flags or labels would give you the ability to be able to kind of add a subcategory to it. And so we do have a few clients using those. We've had some clients say, I just don't understand why I would need that. And so you just have to decide. Again, it's an option that's available to you, and you can use it or not use it. It doesn't matter, but it is there. And you can, when you click on those, it pops out and it just says label 1, label 2. But you can go ahead and relabel them, and so they actually have names. And so that can be helpful to have that next layer of categorization.
All right, so Nancy, there's already some really good questions out there. That was a great session. So go ahead and start reading up on the questions, and I'm going to cover a couple more slides for our group. So Nancy and I are fans of Planner. I think some of the benefits, one, it's better visibility for everybody on what the plan is. Often what we're seeing in the business environment is department leaders or team leaders are holding meetings, and then they, if we're lucky, somebody wrote up the minutes in a Word document, but then that Word document gets hidden in somebody's C drive, and nobody quite knows, what exactly we decide, what are the action items. So we love the idea of everybody on the team knows. I go to Planner and I can see, what the action items are and who's assigned what. So it's a great, great kind of a way of keeping the plan visible to everybody. The second part then is that helps drive accountability. So the plan by itself captures all the important information, the who, what, and when, and that helps keep people accountable. There's no hiding that this was assigned to Bob and Bob's supposed to have it done on Friday, right? So it helps drive accountability across the organization, which is a huge issue. It synchronizes to all your devices, so you can access it from anywhere and any device, which is fabulous. And one of our favorites is it reduces meeting time. We're advocates of everyone really using Planner to do the status update before you go into the meeting, so that when you're in the meeting, you don't go around the room and have everybody give an update on how you're doing on your action item. The expectation is everybody updates the plan going into the meeting, and then in the meeting, we look at where we're behind schedule, and that's where we focus the time discussing any problems around that action item. So we really like Planner. So we are big fans of Microsoft 365 overall. One of our favorite pieces of it is the communication and collaboration hub that you get when you're leveraging using the Teams environment. And Planner is just one little piece of that universe. What makes this environment so rich and so valuable is the tight integration, but that's also what adds a lot of complexity to the software. So as much as we want to get you excited and help you see that some of the technology is intuitive, we also do want to give some little bit of warning about some of the technology. Nancy and I are spending time doing a bit of cleanup with a number of companies that have kind of allowed their employees just to go off and explore, and it's a little bit of the Wild West. And so one of the things we want you to know is you've really got to approach things in a very controlled manner with your organization. You don't want all your employees creating plans and creating teams, because what happens is every time you create a team, behind the scenes it creates a plan and a SharePoint notebook and a OneNote notebook. The same is true with plans. When you create plans, it creates this sort of mini infrastructure behind it. So you want to really pilot when you're exploring with this technology. Ideally have somebody helping you that knows what they're doing, because you can waste time going down the wrong rabbit holes. But ultimately what you want to do is figure out the best way to set up and use these technologies for your company, and then you come up with your rollout and your training plan. So a lot of companies are calling us and saying, hey, come in and teach us how to do Planner or do Teams, but it's really a tool you need to figure out how best to do it for your organization and then train around that plan. So really thinking more long-term in your strategy about how you're going to use the tool is really important. Specific watchouts related toward planner are, one thing, realize, and I can't even explain this as much as I hang out with Nancy, I still don't get the complexity, but realize this is where we're doing a lot of cleanup with companies that, you know, when you set up a team, you get a plan and that's all nice and neat and tidy. But as companies go, hey, I want to create another plan and another plan and another plan, again, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to create a mess and you're going to run the risk of turning your organization off to the technology because they're going to think it's like SharePoint. When SharePoint was rolled out and the training wasn't the best and people thought it was a horrible tool, it was a fabulous tool, just wasn't rolled out properly. I think 365 runs the risk of that happening if you're not careful here. So the other thing, there's definitely a limitation to Planner. Some of our clients we're working with want to have more of a supervisor portal where they can look and see, hey, how many plans is Fred on and how overloaded is Fred versus, you know, Brenda. You don't have that view, that's missing. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future Microsoft creates that, but right now that's a gap. Because it's a gap, other software companies are filling in the void. There are technologies that you can plug into 365 that we've been working with some companies to kind of fill that resource utilization void that 365 doesn't do. We are seeing a lot of updates coming down the road related to Planner, so this might be a slightly changing environment. So things could change a bit as to, you know, what ultimately is going to look like, but it's still a good solid tool to use for some fairly basic you know, team task management. And the other thing, just another watch out is, as productivity consultants, we always want to make sure people know you need more than just the technology in order for people to really be successful in their role. And so before somebody can really keep people accountable, yes, they need a tool to capture the information, but they also need soft skills to understand how you go about coaching and planning and all the different things. So there's definitely a lot more there to make sure you're fully utilizing the Planner tool properly. What we want to do now, just a super quick poll. We're curious if you're finding this training helpful. There's a two-part question Nancy's going to be posing for you, a two-part poll. And this is just going to stay with us, but first one is really whether you're finding this training helpful. So please answer it very honestly. And then secondly is whether your company is interested in learning more about 365 and the suite of tools. So if you could fill that out really quick, that would be great. And we're about at the Q&A time. So like we got maybe 10 more seconds. Okay, that's probably good, Nance. You can end that one. Awesome. So we are going to end. We're going to go ahead and get into the Q&A section next then. So just a reminder again, if you like this session and you're interested, our next session is going to be a deep dive on OneDrive, and that'll be about a month out, August 18th. Again, the registration link is in the chat if you want to go ahead and register for that, or keep an eye out on the CTC Productivity website for future events. All right, so let's go ahead and go. If you have any questions, go ahead and keep entering them into chat, or we do have a small enough group. If you want to just speak up, we can have you voice your question as well. But Nancy, you want to go ahead and start going through the questions in the chat for everyone?
Yeah, I'm actually going to start from the bottom with Danielle's question. She said that the planner is associated with her Microsoft Teams site, and she asked, can I add anyone to tasks or only people that are assigned to the Microsoft Teams site? So the underlying of a plan or a team is an Office 365 site and group. And so the people, the members, anybody who is a member of that then can see what's happening in a team and can be assigned tasks and see the plan. So the answer is no, you cannot just assign tasks to anybody. They do need to be a member of that Office 365 group that is the underlying foundation of Planner and Teams. And so if I move up, if Danielle, if that didn't answer your question, please feel free and, you know, type another question in there. Ron says, can you assign a task to a person from To-Do? Or does one assign the task only from Planner? I couldn't find the assign a task to someone else from To-Do. And Ron, you are exactly right. You cannot assign a task, a planner task, from the To-Do app. What you are seeing in your To-Do app, excuse me, let's try that again. In your To-Do app, what you are seeing is only planner tasks that have been assigned to you. If you want to assign a task to somebody, you do need to go to Planner and then either add a task if it's not there, or open a task and assign it to somebody. And I see you typed another question, Ron, but I'm going to keep going up and then I'll come back down. Gail, you mentioned or asked, is Planner more for agile teams? It reminds me of a Kanban board or something similar. I would say that I don't think it's just for agile teams. All of our clients are, some of them are agile, some of them are just, we don't even keep track of everything and things fall through the cracks. And this has been absolutely wonderful to give us a place where everything is. But as I showed you some of the different, board options or bucket options, we definitely have clients that are going, oh my gosh, this is great for, lean and Kanban of having the to-do, doing, and done tasks. Also, we're seeing a lot of our EOS clients using it once they've identified their rocks, and each of the buckets then are the rocks that they're focusing on, and it gives them a great place to help move forward and keep driving through and meeting those rocks and getting the tasks done. So it's not just for agile teams. And then up at the top, Pat had asked, I get confused as to when to use Planner is the best tool and when To-Do is the best. So kind of my take on that, Pat, would be if there's only a couple of you and you're like, you know what, we just need to kind of keep track of what we have going on, I would probably use the To-Do app and create a shared list and go that route. Because when you have a shared list in To-Do, you can assign tasks as well. So once you start getting, you have a larger team, you actually have a Microsoft team, which then is very easy to add a plan to, then I would probably look toward Planner. And so that would kind of be the difference. Maybe a handful of people to do shared list, great option. More people, or it needs to be available and visible to more powers that be in the company, then I would go with Planner, add it on top of a team site. And Bethany had asked early on, love to hear about how you decide to title buckets by date, by client, by person, and best practices and what other use. So Bethany, I think I answered that as I went through. And anybody feel free to unmute themselves that, so Gail and Danielle and Pat, if I didn't answer your question or you're like, yes, that's great, that's exactly what I was looking for. But Bethany, I'm thinking that as I went through and talked about the buckets and the different types of buckets, from the EOS buckets to the department buckets to, what was the other one I said? The Kanban buckets, or by the phase of the project, that answered that question for you.
Yep, that was really helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. And then Ron, I'll go back to his last question he typed. So how do you create a group? Well, Ron, I got to tell you that is a session in itself. But one of the things that, Jan alluded to is that actually if you go in and you create a new plan or you create a new team, Microsoft team, you are creating an Office 365 group as that underlying foundation. And so what we are seeing, we had one of our clients come to us and they're like, yeah, we like this plan thing, this planner, and we have 35 plans created, but how do we see them all in one place? And what they didn't realize is that every time they were creating a new plan, they were also creating a new Office 365 group, and they didn't need everything that comes with that Office 365 group. So it's pretty easy to actually create that group just by creating a plan or creating a team, but you can create that spaghetti mess that Jan referred to. So I don't know if Ron, if you want to unmute yourself, if that answered or didn't answer your question. Uh-oh, he might not even be listening. I see you got his camera on unless it's just a picture and he's not at his desk.
Oh, he's doing push-ups or something.
He's hiding. Are you exercising?
Looks like he said thanks.
So if you want to unmute Ron and just respond, that would be awesome.
Yeah, is there like just one place, just by creating a plan, how do you then link a second one if it's easy? How do you link a second plan to that group?
When you create a new plan, when you have Office 365 groups set up, you get the option to create a new group when you create a new plan, or it will ask you, do you want to add it to an existing group?
Gotcha.
So there is that possibility. But I will tell you that that is an evolution. And so that was part of the kind of the spaghetti mess made in the background is early on when Planner was first rolled out, there was not an option to add a plan to an existing group. So every plan you created a new group. So Microsoft has learned a few things.
For sure.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Gail.
What I've been doing is keeping meeting notes for our team in OneNote. And there are actions that come out of our team meetings. Do you think it would be better to create a planner board for all our action items, or do you think it would be okay to do to-dos?
I think you can go either way. I mean, how many people are in your group, Gail?
Like 9.
So, I mean, a to-do shared list could definitely work. If you're actually using OneNote 2016, you have the ability to actually take any item on a OneNote page and add it to Outlook tasks. Whoever does that owns the task, and then through Outlook, you can assign the tasks. So if you didn't want to, you know, duplicate the task and go, okay, it's in our OneNote page, but now we're going to copy it and put it in To Do, or we're going to copy it and put it in Planner. Or the other thing in your meetings is you know, don't type it on the OneNote page and say, okay, now we're going through, here's our action items. We're going to flip over to whichever app we've decided to use for it.
Or,
Now the To Do app doesn't give you the graphics.
or do you just do like a planner and put it in the tab in the team, and that's where you would keep all the action items?
Yep. So if you have your OneNote pulled into Teams, that could be a great option too. So you have your OneNote for your notes, and you can even allocate, you know, somebody or dedicate somebody during the meeting to say, okay, you take the notes and any action items, you add them to the plan so that different people have different roles and you're making sure you're capturing everything.
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Jan, let me have my mouse for a second.
Oh, sorry. I'll stop wiggling.
I was trying to move the camera over so that I am not looking quite so far away
Yep.
from the, okay.
There's no more comments coming in chat, but if anybody has a remaining question, you're welcome to ask it live. Otherwise, we'll wrap up. Let me ask this question. Which app would you guys like to hear about after we talk about OneDrive? Because OneDrive's next, but what would be the next app or feature that you'd like a deep dive on?
Did you already do OneNote?
Nope, it's on the list. So that would be a vote, Gail, for you, OneNote?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing some nods from other people. Anybody have another app that would be of interest that you're experimenting with your company and would like to better understand?
I found out about Delve through somebody else. But we're very high security, so it was really interesting that when I learned about it, I went into it and I started seeing things, and people in my company like just about had a coronary because there were a lot of things. The way they set up Teams, there were a lot of things that were there that they didn't realize are being seen by everybody.
Hmm.
So I
Did
think
your company then disable Delve for everybody?
what I find is interesting is no, I can still see. They just didn't tell anybody about Delve.
Right.
See,
Most companies
you only
don't.
know so much about it, like so many things, and I learned out about it from something outside the company. And then when I came into the office, I'm like, oh, I can see this and this, and like, oh my God, and they freak out, but they're just like, shh,
I love it. High security.
Well, and that doesn't really make any sense because anyway,
Yeah.
Delve can be a very nice interface to help you connect with your colleagues that are doing similar work or something that you're doing.
Right,
So, I
right.
mean, that's the whole purpose of it, is so that you're connected with your colleagues.
Yep, makes sense.
Most companies are not telling their employees that it exists.
Yeah, they aren't.
Is anybody else using Delve in their company or even know what we're talking about? I see no's.
Maybe we'll cover that another time. So
If you were to open it up, you might like see things you probably shouldn't.
I love it. I love it. Maybe we'll hit that one another time because it's 12:45, so we're going to be respectful of end on time. But thank you, everybody, for being here. We would love to help you and your organizations roll out 365 in the most effective way. So if you feel like you could use a little personal guidance on that, please reach out to us. We'd appreciate it. Otherwise, we will see you hopefully next month at the OneDrive session.